Welcome back, ladies and gentlemen, to the Shaun Attwood channel. I'm Ron Swanson. We're here with DJ Petrovski. We're going to dive in not only to his channel, Sobering Stories, but into some of the names you will recognize: Chester B, Avicii, Anthony Bourdain, the suspiciousness that surrounded their deaths, the findings that they had that we've all heard so much about. And the wonderful DJ Petrovski is going to take us through it all. But before you do that, sir, thank you so much for giving up your time. Thank you so much for being here. All your links are in the description. Tell us a little bit about yourself.
Well, sup, sobers. So my name's DJ Petrovski. My real name's Nick. I started Sobering Stories maybe like a year ago. It's been almost a full year. I've been sober for almost 7 years and wanted to find a way to give back to the sober community because I've gotten so much. My life changed from getting sober. So I figured, why not do a YouTube channel? And originally I was trying to do like sober help stuff, but I feel like there's more power in sharing stories of tragic addictions and just what happens to different people because of how far down you end up going when you're addicted to something. And it's kind of evolved from there. Honestly, I just listen to my subscribers. I read the comments, figure out what they want to hear. And then, it's just evolved over time. And then I kind of got sucked into the silent children thing. I don't even really remember how I came across it, but I came across that infamous picture of like, did you know all these guys were involved in this project? And I was like, oh, well, that's got my curiosity sparked. And with all of those guys having addiction issues, it just meshed well with the channel. And so that was probably one of my bigger stories that really got my channel boosted up. And I can totally understand why. Like the further you dig into it, the more you find and the less convinced you are that these guys chose to leave like that. It just is, it's hard to believe, you know? So especially with the timing of everything, them being all within like a year of each other. Super strange.
Yeah. And, another name is Avicii. We've all seen his music videos. He was certainly trying to tell us something. Now, where would you like to start? Because I'm sure you've got a lot of information. Chester's the one for me. Like I have the biggest connection to Chester, his music, everything like that. And his passing, I do believe his son questions the official narrative as well. But if you'd like to jump off there, Nick, that would be fantastic. And again, thank you so much for giving up your time. And let's crack on.
Yeah, for sure. I kind of wanted to start with the Silent Children project itself.
Sure, yeah, absolutely. Start wherever you want.
But then we'll go into Chester for sure, because I feel like his is just, I don't know, it's the same thing for me. Like Linkin Park was huge for me. I listened to them for like a year straight when I was like 12 years old when Meteora came out. And so a huge piece of my childhood. But this Silent Children project is, I'd say, very similar to, what's that movie, Sound of Freedom. Although I would say this project specifically is more geared towards like an expose. Like on the website itself, it talks about them actually using the information that they have, taking it back and like showing their families what these guys are doing and like exposing these guys for what they're doing in this whole child trafficking network. But basically they're just going to be incognito and just take in all this evidence and then use that evidence to essentially blackmail or take these guys down from behind the scenes. So it is like a really interesting project, and they have it's like an intro kind of a clip showing you what the project's going to be about. And they filmed this in Moldova, which is somewhere I'm not really super familiar with, but come to find out, all of these guys seem to have some sort of connection with being in Moldova, doing like, I don't know, child exploitation work in Moldova. So that already was an initial connection between Chester and Chris, and I believe even Anthony Bourdain, because he'd been there for one of his, one of his shows for No Reservations. And so I thought that was an interesting connection. But the project itself, the people that are involved in doing this project are all really weird, in my opinion. So like we've got Laura Silsby is the executive producer, and she is an artist. Actually, she's not really involved in film or TV or really anything, but she was married to a guy named Leroy Moore, and Leroy Moore is was the saxophonist for the Dave Matthews Band. He died in 2008, He'd gotten into an ATV accident. And after that ATV accident, he must have punctured a lung in this accident. He was out there by himself, nobody with him. Nobody can like corroborate that this is what happened. But he ends up in the hospital. And then within the week, he dies from pneumonia. And on my channel, we talk about so many cases of mostly people related to Diddy who die from pneumonia. So that immediately sparked my interest. And then this is his soon-to-be wife, this Lisa Bean. And so Lisa Bean then takes on this executive producer role for this Silent Children project. But she also, in her bio, has a really interesting project that she's very proud of. She installed one of the art exhibits for Diddy's Making the Band 2, one of the episodes for it. So she has connections to Diddy, and her future husband dies from pneumonia in this random ATV accident. So that already was a little bit weird. And there's some more connections with her I'll bring up a little bit later, I think. But we've then got this guy, hang on, let me go to Arthur Gorson, I think was his name. Yeah, Arthur Gorson. He's another producer on the film. And him and the director of the film, this guy's name is Dean Carr. These guys both work in like music videos. So they've produced hundreds of music videos for multiple different mainstream artists. A lot of them are like rock artists like Marilyn Manson. This Arthur Gorson guy and this Dean guy have taken photos for Linkin Park because they also do photos. So they're very involved in the music industry already. So you'd imagine that for some reason, all these people in the music industry have this weird information about child sex trafficking, or this really weird push to want to do something about child sex trafficking. So already it's kind of strange that there's so many people from the music industry randomly involved in this project. And then the other guy that's involved, the actual like I don't even know what you'd call him. He'd be like the film director. I'm not really sure what his role is, but he's a huge horror film producer. And when you go through his IMDb, he's got a pretty extensive list of stuff he's been involved with, but he does not have the Silent Children project on there, even as like a failed project or something that never came to be. It's just not on there at all. So that was kind of weird, but he's also like a mainstream horror movie producer. And Asia Argento, who would be Anthony Bourdain's girlfriend, right up till the end. She's also an actress, but she's done tons of like horror / action movies. And so I would imagine that those two probably have a connection somehow. So I don't know, that I thought that was extremely interesting. Just the people that are doing this project all seem to have ties with music. So it makes sense that they would bring musicians in to try and help fund and support this project. And that's where this last guy comes in. And it seems like this last guy, Paul Myhill, is almost more like the creative mind program campaign. And Traffic Jam is a raising program. They put on these benefit concerts, and all the proceeds go to the Traffic Jam Fund, which is that's what is funding this Silent Children project. So the Traffic Jam campaign on their actual website mentions the word or the name Linkin Park as one of their supporting bands, including the Dave Matthews Band, of course, because of Leroy Moore being connected to the program. And then I couldn't find anybody else mentioned specifically by name. But Linkin Park was definitely on there, even though it was misspelled. They spelled it like Abraham Lincoln instead of like with the K. So it was misspelled, but they were still on there. And then on the Traffic Jam Facebook page, I actually unearthed this photo of Linkin Park having donated like some special guitar to the program. And that was part of how they were raising funds for all these different like benefits they were doing to raise money for the Silent Children. And so these, like, they gave away a guitar so that they could auction it off to somebody who'd pay money to have this super sick guitar from Linkin Park. Yeah. So that already made me really suspicious about the Silent Children project, because this guy, Arthur Gorson, he's the official, like, producer, but he's also considered the spokesperson. And he basically just says straight up, like, nobody that you guys are saying was involved in this project. Like, just straight deny, deny, deny. But then when you find all these things saying that they're connected to the traffic jam campaign, which is essentially the main piece of this whole project, it's funding it, and the guy Paul Myhill is like running this project. So it's kind of weird that they would just straight up deny that any involvement from Linkin Park or Chris Cornell or any musicians really were even involved at all. So I found that to be pretty strange, and it just gave me more questions. So that's when I started looking into who all these people were. And then at the end of everything, well, I'll just say this, the project disbanded, and they said that they didn't get enough funding to go through with the project. And I actually, this weirdly enough, man, this guy, Paul Myhill, the traffic jam guy, he lives 20 minutes away from me in a little town called Castle Rock. And that was trippy as hell. I was like, there's no way this guy lives, like, he's my neighbor, basically. So I hit him up and like told him, yo, we're neighbors. I saw like all your traffic jam stuff and tried to get him to open up to me a little bit about it. But all he said was the same thing they say online is, well, we ran out of funding and the project just disbanded. And then he stopped responding to any of my messages. He would read them, but not respond. So I thought that was, I thought that was really weird. And he lives in a really nice area. Like in Castle Rock's a really nice spot, but in particular where he's at, because I truth finded him and like creeped on his address and stuff. But he lives in like a really like remote area of Castle Rock, which is where all the bigger houses are. They have property and it's not cheap for that property. So he's definitely got money, and he still does work with the traffic jam campaign. So I don't know where he's getting this money from. But when I looked into what he actually does for work, he works for like a multi-level marketing scheme called ProTandem. And he claims that he was the inventor of ProTandem, but when I looked that up, he's not. But he says that on his Facebook page. And then this multi-level marketing company, if you trace it all the way back, one of the biggest investors is BlackRock, of course. So it's just a weird, everything's just weird about the whole Silent Children project. And then in January 8th of 2018 or 2017 is when this project officially just kind of dissolves and disappears. And that is the same year that we have all of these guys starting to pass away. So the whole thing just is a mystery to me. And then also, what did they do with all the money that they raised? Because on their website, they say they've raised substantial funding for this project. And clearly they've been getting donations. They've been doing shows, these benefit shows that have made tons of money. And so I was like, where is this money going that you guys just raised for this project that then disbanded? You know, like money's just gone. And then all of these people go on to have even better, more successful careers in the film and like art industries right after this project disbands. So I was like, is it a money grab? Was this supposed to be a psyop? What even is this project, you know? So that was my rant about the Silent Children. But
yeah, and it was a good rant, trust me. But it gives me the vibe that hang on a second, I need to just fix your mic echo 1 second. There we go. Background. You're right, mate. It's not. Don't worry. So it gives me the vibes of the music industry trying to fight back against what they know is such a prolific issue. Diddy and Bieber being a fine example, but it also has an undertone of, oh, just let them do their thing, and the minute that they get close to anything, we can nip it in the bud. And of course, with investment and all the rest of it, it could also have been set up to lure people to it.
Oh, as like a way to pull them out to see who's. That's a good point. I never thought about
like on ball,
because who's not on board, who's a target
now. It's so much easier in the criminality, in the evil world, to make you come to me.
Yeah, that's actually genius. I'd never thought of it like that. That's genius, Ron.
Yeah, sadly, I've stared into the abyss too long. Yeah, I know what people are doing.
Yeah.
People talk about, oh, they've bought this guy off, they've bought that guy off. No, has he got a wife and children? Because if you've got a wife and children, I ain't buying you off. I'm just letting you know what's going to happen to them if you don't comply.
And honestly, I think about that all the time. Would I comply? Probably. I would.
Of course you would. Everyone's going to comply. Yeah. Everyone's complying. You're a normal dude. You're a normal dude. Like, of course you're going to comply. So, but here's an interesting one for you. Arsenic, when it's in the body, will develop into pneumonia, and it's allegedly a friend of our channel, Big Homie, he's
Big homie CC. I was just going to talk about
Big
him.
homie, yeah, he's been hit with this a couple of times, and apparently this is what they do. They hit you with the arsenic, it breaks your body down, and then the pneumonia is what finally ends you. And I mean, I'm not
That's
saying
cool.
if that's true or not. I'm just
You've
saying
chatted
that,
with Big Homie.
yeah, man, me and Big
That's
Homie are
cool.
I'm
You guys are
yeah,
homies.
yeah, Big Homie and I were involved in the liberation of some taken women and children last year with the wonderful Beverly Roads, using remote viewing to locate missing people, and then Big Homie coming through your front door and liberating you.
Oh, that's the last person I want to see busted through my front door.
Right.
That's sick.
So,
but yeah, that, and I'll be sure. So Kim Porter, I've done one on Kim Porter. I'll be sure, Brittany Murphy, as well as her husband. I feel like there's more, but all of these people died from pneumonia. And then same thing, I found that Big Homie CC where he's talking about how even he's gotten poisoned by this stuff.
Yeah.
And yeah, Big Homie is our brother. Like,
yeah,
I love that he's like, I don't know, all the Diddy stuff. I love seeing him come out about that. And even just his demeanor, like he just cracks me up listening to him talk because he's such a no bullshit guy, you know?
Yeah, right.
But,
and this is what I'm going to say. Anyone who wants to question the remote viewing thing, trust me, Big Homie ain't putting his name to something like that.
yeah,
without
true.
It being, in fact, there's some pretty intense stories that we'll talk about in our time. But look, it seems to me like we've struck on a new possibility with this being a trap to lure in individuals who may have information to have them all pass away. And
yeah,
it's a scary concept because there, like you say, there was this period of time where people just dropped like flies, and I don't think they all dropped themselves, Nick.
No, and they all had ties to very similar shit. Like they were all working on similar projects, and you'd have to imagine they may have had their own projects going on. But in my opinion, it's almost impossible. Like when you're involved in a community, it's really hard for you to avoid being involved or at least coming into contact with other people in that community, especially something as small as like working on child exploitation stuff. Like that's not a huge industry. So I'd imagine that they, especially when you're in music already. So to me, it just seemed like maybe they were all working on different aspects of it to try and cover more area because they were all in different areas. But the one thing that they all have in common is their time in Haiti or their connection to Haiti and the relief efforts after the earthquakes down there, which of course that was a huge Clinton funded operation.
The greatest thing that can ever happen to a human trafficking operation is a freaking earthquake anywhere. Okay.
Oh, 100%.
Do you know what I mean? I mean,
yeah, because then there's all these kids. Well, wait, I got a stat here about it was like 40% of, I think it was 40% of people in Haiti were under the age of 18. And there was tons of those under 18-year-olds that were either their parents died in that whole thing or they were already in the foster program because they just didn't have parents or their parents got rid of them or whatever. But yeah, that to me was crazy to know how many minors were in the country and vulnerable people in general.
And that's just that's just the ones that were documented at birth, bro.
Like yeah, exactly. That's not even the ones that aren't on there.
Our concept of poverty and actual serious poverty are so different, you know. The wonderful Paula M, she educated us on the reason she started up her sort of school for young kids is because if you're not documented, you are basically just subhuman to in some places of the world, and it's scary. It's scary to think what can happen to all these kids. And of course, the Clinton Foundation had members of their staff stopped at the border trying to sneak across groups of children. They went through court with all of that. And sadly, we can't say the actual name of this, but past offense involving the Podestas and things like this is another interesting narrative that ties in with the Clintons.
Yeah, I would definitely agree with that. And the whole, and I think that lady that she got caught trying to, well, it was multiple people. It was like 10 plus people, but they all got pardoned by the Clintons, of course.
Of course they did.
And then the only one prosecuted was that Laura chick. And then she eventually goes on, I saw a comment in here that was right. She goes on to work with the Amber Alert program, which is literally about finding missing children. Correct. So I'm like, what is even happening right now?
You know exactly
that whole
what's
situation
happening.
was wild.
Nick,
yeah, you're right. You know
exactly
exactly what's
happening.
You know
exactly what's happening. Our brain's still doing that thing where we make those statements to try and comfort ourselves. It's the same as when you put your hand over a candle and your brain moves it when it gets too hot. Like it's so in our faces. And I genuinely think that the people like Bourdain, the highest TV chefs in the world are the private chefs of the billionaires. Okay, you got to keep that in mind, okay? And every single one of these individuals definitely has the ability to stumble upon something. So
well, and you know about the two chefs from the Clintons' chef and then Obama's chef that just mysteriously disappeared. Those are stories that I plan to cover in the future, but at least the Obama one, I haven't researched much into the Clinton one, but the Obama chef that had died was out paddleboarding in like, I think it was like 4 or 6 feet of water, and he's taller than 6 feet, and he somehow drowned paddleboarding out there, like all by himself randomly. And it was in like Martha's Vineyard where Obama's house is at. And like behind his house, he has a little water area you could go paddleboard on. But he died. And then a Clinton chef, I think either just prior to that or just after that, ended up dying, like very similar, just super random out of the blue. And you wonder, these guys are in there cooking. They're in their house all the time. I'm sure they hear something here and there. Well, maybe more than just something.
Drowning's an absolute great way for people to go, because you hear drowning, you hear paddleboard. Doesn't matter if it's 6 foot, doesn't matter if it's 4 foot. The majority of people hear drowning, accident, paddleboard. They're done. Their decisions made. And there's been a lot of people, the dude from Friends and Whitney Houston, dying in baths and things like this. And
well, and the bathtub always has like 3 inches of water in it too. It's not even like a full bathtub. You're like, how do they? Yeah, that's the bathtub thing. They always have pneumonia. Yeah. And then there's always a conveniently located baggie of something next to them, or multiple baggies.
But the thing is, these are career substance takers. Right. Do you see what I'm saying? Like,
yeah, they've got a tolerance. They can handle this.
It's a tolerance, but they also, like, for me, I would believe it more if they were getting out the bath and they slipped and like cracked their head on something. That is a lifelong ongoing. Me, slippy surfaces coming out, like, it's a nightmare. So that I would believe, but I mean,
well, and Whitney Houston was supposedly high on white powders, so she would like, how are you going to sleep on that? Like, you're having a heart attack and dying first, or you're not going to sleep in a bathtub. That's for sure.
I mean, I've passed out in the bathtub and woken up almost drowning. Okay.
Well, I'm too big for a bathtub. I can't, there's nowhere for me to slide in a bathtub. My legs fill the whole thing, man. Plus, who are all these people taking baths in hotel bathrooms? Have you ever taken a bath in a hotel?
I'm not going to lie. I'm not going to lie. Right. I have got a reputation for the very first thing I do in a hotel is have a bath and use every towel. Like, I go on a towel frenzy. Okay. Like, I'm using towels for stuff. Like, I'm the king of the world. Do you know what I'm saying?
That's hilarious. I love that.
It's a weird thing that I do.
Well, that gives me some new perspective, because I didn't think anybody took baths in hotel bathrooms. So I'm glad to hear that is actually a thing.
Not a motel, not a like nice hotels, like decent hotels.
Yeah, that's true. Like, not a motel though. Yeah.
Yeah, like as long as the review online will get you a free establishment, like another stay and an apology, that sort of. They've all got to be franchised, not no like family-owned madness. Like, it's got to be.
Yeah, I'm with that.
Let's dive into the characters.
Let's do it.
You can start off wherever you would like to, and I'll bring up images and things like that. But
well, I figured you mentioned this before. I figured we should start off with Jamie, because that is probably the most recent development with all of this stuff, is Jamie being so outspoken. And honestly, I didn't give, in my video on Chester, I didn't give him a ton of time, because I didn't really look into too much about it, because he didn't really say anything like that was, he didn't say anything specific that would let me know that this is what he believes, but he has doubts. And the thing about Jamie that's really interesting is that he didn't have doubts for a while. He accepted he accepted the self-exit thing. He accepted that what happened, and he was struggling with it. But there was things that have happened since.
You're going to need to give me Jamie's last name.
Jamie Bennington.
Oh, yeah, okay.
Yeah, and he's like, Chester has like 6 kids. I think 4 of them from different moms. And Jamie is one of those kids. He actually didn't even meet Chester, his dad, until like 6 years after he was born. And then he actually recently, I just saw this. This was something new, but he just had a paternity test done to see if Chester is legitimately his dad, because there is some speculation that maybe he's not.
Okay.
And on that test, I guess they couldn't give a definitive, like 100% this is your dad. But on the
Okay.
test, his grandpa Lee and his uncle Brian both showed up on the test. And so he
Oh,
was wondering, like, Mom, what the F? Like, am I even Chester's son? So he's already feeling lied to about even just who his dad actually is.
yeah,
But
that's
then
nice.
one of the things that I did mention in my video about Chester was that to Linda, when Chester passed away, they said that they found a book next to him on the nightstand. And this book, there was multiple people saying that it was a self-exit note. Other people said that it was like a biography. What I ended up figuring out, I think the most reasonable thing was that he was fresh out of rehab, and in rehab they had him keeping a journal of whatever, just documenting his days and documenting how he's feeling and things like that. And I think that's what they found on that nightstand. And Talinda immediately got that back after it was, the investigation wasn't very long, but she got that book back. And Jamie asked to see the book, to see what was in it. And she said, I'll show it to you once we've grieved a little bit and you're a little bit older. He later on goes back to Talinda and says, Hey, I feel like I'm ready to see this book and see like what dad was thinking before he left. Like if there's something in here that maybe explains why this happened. And suddenly that book, she says, never existed. There is no book, there was no biography, there was no notebook that was found, but there was, because it's in the police report, that there was a notebook found on the nightstand. So I thought that was really interesting, but that was one of the very first things that started cluing Jamie in to the fact that it may not be like his family's hiding something from him. It's almost like they know something that he doesn't know. And so that's when he starts to really change his tune and question things. But he comes out in a post and basically says verbatim, I don't believe that he took his own life. I don't believe that he did this to himself. For 100% fact, something bad happened to him, and it could be bad people, it could be a bad situation. We don't really know. And then I think the other thing that he had found, which I found to be one of the most powerful pieces of all the evidence, was this message, or this letter that came through after Chester died. And it was talking about the Orange County District Attorney's Office had sent a condolences letter to the Bennington family saying, we're so sorry for your loss. Chester was a huge advocate and help in our operations in fighting sex trafficking. And this was a tweet from the district attorney, Tony Rakakis or something like that. And he posted the document in this tweet showing that this is a legitimate document from Orange County District Attorney, thanking him for his help in exposing child human sex trafficking. So the OCDA was working with Chester, and I'm not sure what in what capacity. I don't know what operations they had going on that he was working with them, but this very straight up says he was working on child sex trafficking operations with official police, unofficial police operations. So that was interesting because I couldn't find any other information about
Well, you see,
Chester being involved.
this is the problem, right? Because the minute that the police are involved, it's over.
Right.
The police are bought and paid for. Everything that
Yep.
we're referring to with regards to children and Hollywood and the music industry, this is centuries old. This is bloodlines. This is one percenters. This is scary madness. And when people get too close, they get snuffed, mate. And, it's interesting how many got taken out all at once. It was almost like there was a bit of a message. It just so happens to be the ones that have gathered under this blanket of keeping children safe that have been lured out, and then off they go. It really puts the heebie-jeebies is the best way of putting it, because how do you fight something like that? Where do you begin, and where do people lose hope in stepping forward from Hollywood and the music industry?
Yeah. Well, and especially in the music industry, I feel like that happens a lot, especially now going through all this Diddy stuff, realizing what is really going on in the music industry, how people kind of make their way up in the music industry, and honestly, just how weird it is. But it all has to be connected. I mean, these are all the biggest money making industries in not only America, but probably the world.
World,
So,
right?
and they're all owned by these Jewish men that own these massive companies that are all funded by these massive companies like BlackROQ, and like they're all kind of interconnected, you know, like they seem like they're not, but they're all really interconnected. All the same people work for all the same places, and they're all buddy buddy with each other. And I feel like it's very easy for somebody who is involved to hear somebody who's maybe thinking about speaking out or being a whistleblower to then get that information back to people who can do something about it. They've got ears and handlers everywhere.
Hell yeah, dude.
Yeah, so it's like
I'll,
as
I'll
soon as
go
you
one
even
step
think it.
further. I'll go one step further than you, right? These are the people that have the spooky satellites, bro. That if they know where you are, they can just dial in on you, zoom in, read the letters on your newspaper, and hear what and see your like these people. It's so far beyond necessary for another human to relay information. We're talking. I mean,
Oh
the
yeah.
people that are involved in the highest levels in this, it's a terrifying concept. BlackROQ is the one, mate. I mean, it is the evildoers' massive business, and it's a scary concept. And I think people like Chester, I don't think it's so much. Maybe some of them haven't seen things, but I imagine they hear a lot because. You know yourself, if you start a new job and there's a weird person there, people are like, okay, that's Billy. He's a bit.
Yeah.
It's just how they do it, and you can only imagine the rumors that circulate, and then you factor in things like white parties and the investors and the people that are behind the scenes. It becomes a terrifying fight for people.
Well, especially when you realize how many similarities there are. I mean, Epstein had the same kind of blackmail ring as Diddy had. And then I was looking into the Bohemian Grove recently, and that almost seems like that's all it is a place to get all these wealthy people out there to get blackmail information on them so that they're now
100%.
under their they're under their control. So it just seems to be like the industry method of control is blackmail and getting you in these precarious situations. And
it's not
super
so much
strange.
the industry. It's not so much the industry. That's what makes the world turn.
Yeah, you're right. It's the world. It's the
We're
world.
talking about the oldest plan of attack there is the blackmail game. And listen, everyone, we're not saying that everyone involved is a PDF file or a horrible person. You could be a legitimate individual. You might just have a bit of money and a bit of power, and then before you know it, someone's blown a special a powder called scopamine, right? That's only one time we can say it. Before you know it, you're laying down with a bunch of dudes doing stuff, being filmed, wake up the next day with no memory, and you're told basically, if you don't do as you're told, this is what's going to go public. And it's where are all these Diddy tapes? Where are all the Epstein tapes? That's the thing, because we all heard what was there, and now it's just gone.
Yeah, now it's just totally gone. And even Kash Patel is out now saying that he wasn't trafficking anybody to anybody. The only thing we can see is that he was using them himself. And you're just like, wait, everything is different now. Everything's backwards now. You guys were saying for so long, there's all these tapes and all this blackmail and all these people, but now you're saying there's nothing.
Well, here's the thing. You'll notice there's an algorithm that you may have missed. It's called, it's okay for you to be a pervert. So as long as it's just Diddy who's a pervert, and as long as it's just Epstein who's a pervert, everything's fine. Look at the sentencing Diddy got, right?
Yeah.
But the minute it starts to bleed into other realms, you're either snuffed out, or I don't know how Diddy's managed to make it. I really don't.
I honestly don't either.
Blows my mind.
I honestly thought he was going to get Epstein. In my opinion, I was surprised he didn't.
I think he's got one hell of a dead man switch. Like, he must
maybe
have
he does.
one hell of a dead man switch. Listen, I'm getting a bit chatty, and I'm trying to dial back the chattiness. So,
no, you're good. So we can segue right into the dead man switch that I found, because I did an episode on Isaac Cappy, which I'm sure you're familiar with, and his dead man switch. Yeah. And so his whole dead man switch, I thought it actually didn't strike me as interesting until I was talking about Chris Cornell, and they did some work in Greece, and the place where Isaac Cappy's dead man switch was filmed, with all those little girls running around that bathhouse, right in the center of it, there's a giant like black sun looking logo. And then also with the Black Hole Sun song from Soundgarden, and then their logo on that album, it was either that album or the next album after that. another Black Sun looking design. So I thought that was kind of interesting with Isaac Cappy's Dead Man Switch and all these Black Sun connections. That just
Yeah.
seemed very weird. I didn't really, I don't really know what to make of it. Might mean something, might mean nothing. I don't know, but it definitely was interesting to me. And so I don't know, that Dead Man Switch was definitely weird. And I feel like the ties to Greece, as well as their ties to Moldova, and then Chris Cornell also had ties to Haiti because he worked with the Clintons on the Clinton Preferred Pediatrics program. I don't really know what that program was doing. That sounds
You know exactly.
like
No,
just
you know exactly.
harnessing.
What,
Yeah, they're
you know,
just harnessing children that don't
you know
have
exactly. You know
anywhere
exactly.
to go. Yeah, that's exactly how I felt about it. So like, there's already ties with Chris Cornell there. But I wanted to talk about that the Lisa Bean chick, who's the executive producer. After I had done my episode on all this,
Just before you do that, Nick, the last thing I'm going to say, I just want to plant a little nightmare in your head, right?
please
If you're
do.
an evil member of any sort of foundation, Clintons or whatever, and you're in charge of children, who you can then put doctors in place that can announce the death of a child, wheel that child out the back door, right? And off they
Yeah.
pop.
Yep.
Look at the
And they're
admin
officially
part.
dead.
They're officially dead. Do you see what I'm saying?
Yeah, no, absolutely. Well, and a
And
lot of that was going on in Haiti because it was all like
100%.
medical relief stuff.
Of course. And if it's orphans, like you got to look at the power of the admin when it comes to things like this, because
so
the
true.
more up to date the admin is, the less questions are asked. You know.
Yeah, so true. Actually, that makes a lot of sense. I didn't think about it like that.
Welcome to my nightmare.
Yeah, I know. It just is never ending. You realize how much control they have and how many different ways they can control things, and it almost makes you feel powerless. You're like I don't know, what can we do if everybody's paid off?
No, you got to remind yourself, if it's 1%, right? If it's just the 1%, you just got to imagine us in a field. 99% versus 1%. We've always got the power. It's just they're in the positions of power. Okay, and that's
why they spend so much time. That's why they spend so much time trying to divide us and get us to fight each other over bullshit, so that they don't have to worry about us being a 99%. It's like 3 different 30%. You know, right? And like
you've nailed it. You've absolutely nailed it. And anyway, please do continue. I just wanted to plant that nightmare seed in your head there.
No, I'm glad you did, because I hadn't really thought of it like that. That definitely makes sense, though. But that Lisa Bean chick, she was running the Silent Children project. Right after that project, she starts focusing more on her artwork. She has an art installation in Diddy's show, but she also is featured in this FAPE program. And the FAPE program is the Foundation for Art Preservation in Embassies. Kind of a lame program, but essentially it is so that they can stock all the U.S. embassies around the world with Americanized, American vibe artwork, actual American artists. So they have them in the embassies to bring like a little bit of American culture into the different places that these embassies are at. But they ship this artwork all over the world. And I didn't even know this, but one of my subscribers commented, and they're like, they are using art shipping to transport children, because the art shipping, like when you're shipping art, there's no regulation on it. It doesn't go through customs. It doesn't go through any inspections, because it's so delicate and like expensive. So it just goes shipped the way it is. But they say that because of the lack of regulation, that this is a huge way that children are trafficked and moved across the world. And on this FAPE program, one of the, like, I can't remember what her actual position is. She's like a chairman of the board, or chairwoman of the board of the FAPE program. So Hillary Clinton is a board member of this program. So that to me was like, whoa, I didn't even see how dark of a tie that actually is. And then the fact that this Lisa Bean chick, who was running this Silent Children documentary, suddenly stops doing it and then is featured in this program. It was so weird. It gave me bad vibes all over. And I was like, I don't really know what to make with that information, but it feels too, like, out of nowhere, she just gets featured in this program. It just seemed really weird.
Yeah, people fall into line pretty quickly, though, mate. You got to remember, like, if everyone starts dropping like flies, a lot of people will stand there and smile, facing the enemy.
And to your point before, like, if this was just something to flesh out people and figure out who's not on board, who's the enemy, then maybe this was like a benefit for her starting this project, making this happen. And if you do this for us, then we'll do this for you. You know what I mean? Like, you scratch my back,
100%,
we'll scratch yours. Yeah.
100,
That's the feeling I was starting to get from it.
yeah, 100%. And when you were talking about the art, when we talk about like the transportation of any human on like a ship or anything that is tied in with normal transportation, right?
Mhm.
That's cartel level. That's, you know, home-brewed evil criminal enterprise level stuff.
Yeah.
The top tier people ain't sticking kids in containers, mate. They've got their own ships, they've got their own stuff, and they are fully uncatchable.
Yeah.
You know, because
I believe that.
when have you ever heard of a container of kids being found and it not just tying back to some hellish cartel somewhere?
Yeah, that's true.
You know,
That is so true.
I can introduce you to, sadly, to a wonderful lady who was part of the elites who would hunt children in the woods. She was one of those kids that they would hunt, and she made it out of it all. And that it's they leave these people alive as living trophies.
That's so crazy.
Some of these children.
Yeah. Well, and I
it's
think that's what's so crazy for people, and that's what's so hard, that we just get labeled conspiracy theorists, because it's so outside of the realm of possibility for 99% of normal people to be like, is that really a thing? There's no way people do that. But when you have that much money, like, I just asked Grok and I posted a video about it, but it said they're into forbidden pleasures, and those pleasures involve just like doing weird stuff because they've kind of gotten burnt out on regular earthly pleasures.
Dude,
They've got everything.
Actually, that is, I believe, one of the biggest misconceptions, right? Actually, think about if you went from your situation now to being a billionaire tomorrow, how bored do you have to be before you start pumping children? Okay.
Yeah, I know, right?
So I think that the whole people getting bored or people getting sucked into it all, I think that is a little bit of a myth. I'm not saying completely, because there will be people that will get drawn into the boredom factor of it all. But this is so much more ritualistic. And the way it was explained to me, Nick, and this is going to really screw you up, it's about putting into the universe the most horrific act to get back the opposite of it. So every action has an opposite. So if you imagine how incredible the opposite of murdering a youngling is, right? It must be something pretty amazing, because that's pretty bad.
Yeah.
And a survivor of elite tunnel abuse put it to me like this, and I'm going to tell you this now, Nick. Normal people don't come up with this, because if they did, we would have seen it in a Saw movie. Okay.
Yeah, I know, right?
We've heard about these ritualistic humiliation rituals by the Illuminati and things like this. Let me tell you what one of them really was, as allegedly witnessed. And it was, imagine a mother waking up, okay, and she can hear the screams of her baby. There's glass all around her and people staring in. And a voice echoes over telling her that just in order for her child to stop screaming, all she has to do is go and pick her up and cuddle her child. You know, and the mother's doing all she can. Her child's in pain. She's screaming. And it's not until she tries to pick up her child she realizes that they've amputated both of her arms.
Oh my God. That's so crazy. That's psychotic, man. That's insane.
Just
yeah, that's
fathom that.
That's next.
And then imagine the opposite of that now.
Yeah.
Do you see what I'm saying?
Yeah.
It's so messed up. And this is what these people believe. So when you have people that would never harm a child, but they would do something horrific to a child for money, if it meant success, if it meant, you know, getting a leg up in power. The power is the allure, and
that makes sense.
It's so prevalent. And CERN is another thing, because everything is starting. Another one of our guests is tying a lot of stuff together with CERN, and it's getting real bizarre and biblical and scary, bro. And it all ties with kids, and it's wild. Apologies to anybody for having to hear that story, but that example really hits home how unattached to what we would think of as a normal brain would be. So yeah, and again, apologies. This has turned into one of those conversation interviews that I'm trying to avoid, but
I'm enjoying it. I'm learning.
A good chat, bro. It's a good conversation.
Hell yeah. Well, and it's crazy to think how much money can be made off of exploiting children. Like, I'm sure that has to be one of the most profitable industries, even more so than drugs, because to auction off or like rent off, pimp out a kid, you're making more than, you know, a quick $80 bag price or like a kilo price.
There's that factor as well. Plus, if I've got a kilo of powder in my back of my car and I get pulled over, I'm done. If I've got a semi-conscious woman, you know, less chance of that happening. And
yeah, that's true.
The last time I checked, it was $190 billion global industry.
Oh, that's insane. Yeah, that is insane. But unfortunately, I believe it. That's the worst part.
Dude, I'll send you some screenshots of dark web communities that promote the tourism where people can go to countries and do horrible things. And this is so well refined.
It's crazy.
Well refined. And it's scary. Now, listen, Anthony Bourdain, right? He was one of the names in this that stuck out to me because he never resonated any sign of wanting to exit this earth and all the rest of it. And he was another individual who had, I do believe, if my memory serves right, that he had lured towards something suspicious going on. Can you touch a little bit on Anthony Bourdain? Is that okay to do?
Oh yeah, absolutely. Bourdain was the one I actually went into doing that video expecting not to find shit. I was going to find nothing. I was like, Anthony Bourdain, why would he be tied to this? He didn't have anything to do with music. But actually, he had way more ties to everything than I think anybody else did. He was also in Haiti for one of his shows because, you know, he traveled the world just eating food. And he went down to Haiti, and one of the things he was talking about with the locals was like, it seems like so many people and activist programs and all these things are coming through to try and help Haiti out and rebuild and help the people. But it looks like a war zone here still. And it's been like a couple years at this point. He's like, so even people like myself coming down here, filming my TV show, filming you guys and filming what life is like, even this feels like I might be part of the problem. And so it seemed like he was asking more questions about like, what's going on? Where's the money going? Are you actually being helped? Are these organizations helping? Are we a part of the problem? Because obviously they don't air all the questions on the episode. But you'd imagine he was asking some hard questions because Anthony Bourdain was a no bullshit guy. Like, he's going to ask questions if he has them. So that, to me, I felt like already he was down asking questions about Haiti. And then we've got tweets from him later talking about, I mean, he hates the Clintons. He hates Hillary Clinton. And so all these tweets talking about, you know, he has information that Hillary could be put in jail for, and just pre-tweets talking about her in her political race and all that. He was already stirring up the pot, which made me feel like he did have some information that he might have learned in Haiti. And even if it wasn't anything to do with trafficking, maybe they were just realizing that the money that they were getting was being embezzled into something else, or it could be something even as small as that. But he knew something.
Here's the thing. How many other people as high profile as Anthony Bourdain, right, could you have had access to in Haiti to hand information over to someone you could trust to get it to a media source? I'm sure he is in the vast minority. He would also be considered, I would imagine, a familiar face around the world, has a little bit of trust, you know, and things like this. So you could imagine that he's possibly sitting down enjoying some local cuisine and be handed a dreaded manila envelope, you know, and the manila envelope could have, I mean, that's where I am. That's what I can imagine. Unless we go down some weird road of, you know, billionaire chef maybe or whatever, but I think he would be privy to trust and relationships that other people wouldn't, if that makes sense.
And he was really big on celebrating culture. Like, he loved experiencing culture through food, and he had nothing but respect. Like, if you watch any of his episodes, he's got so much respect for the culture, and he learns everything he can about how they operate, how they get food, how they cook food. So I could see him easily having a good relationship with people down there where they
Yep.
feel like they can trust him. And he's got that no bullshit attitude. So it doesn't ever feel like he's lying to you because
Mhm.
he'll say things that you're like, oh, well, that was kind of effed up. But like, at
Yeah.
least I know he's being real.
Yeah. Well, no, 100%. But I mean, Bourdain's the one for me where I feel like he, it's the classic. They did kill the messenger with him.
Yep. Yeah.
I think it's different when it comes to the music industry because of how much more they could have been exposed to just at after parties, seeing things and all the rest of it, compared to compared to Bourdain. And yeah, I think he's definitely been told something or been given something and then went yapping about it on Twitter. Don't do that. You ever get handed a manila envelope, you shut up and you take it where it needs to go and you do no digital conversation about it. You are now, you and that manila envelope are one, okay?
Yep. Yep.
It's
Yeah,
true.
I definitely agree with that. And I always thought it was weird because he was, killed in France and I didn't really understand. I thought it was kind of, I was like, they'd have to really coordinate that. But that's when I realized that he was with Asia Argento. And I feel like she is a handler. Like I have this hardcore feeling like she's just a handler. And they have, I brought this up in my video, but they have this post death biography that
Okay.
was like an unauthorized biography, is how they list it, meaning like he wasn't given permission from Anthony Bourdain because he was already dead to write it. But in this biography, it's different from the other multiples that were written because it claims to have his final text messages to Asia Argento, which ends up being the reason that he like decided he couldn't live anymore. And so these, I was like, well, how did he get these text messages? And some sources say that he got them like sent to him, like somebody just let him know like what the final messages were from the family. But then I found other reports from the actual publisher saying that he was able to achieve, like able to get the phone and laptop to be able to examine the messages himself. But I'm like, there's no way this guy got Anthony Bourdain's phone and laptop, some random guy doing a random biography on him. He's not even a biographer. He's done like a couple other biographies.
Mm,
But I was looking into the publishing company he works for, which is Simon and Schuster. And Simon and Schuster is, they have multiple Clinton books, biographies, just like some of them are like fictional stories that they've written. There's like 6 to 8 different Clinton related books, either Hillary or Bill. So this publisher is very familiar with the Clintons, and the thing that I read about it is that these were books that were essentially just hidden ways for them to give a financial donation to the party, like to the Clinton Foundation or the Clinton
listen, the more
or the
businesses,
presidency.
the more businesses you stumble across that are just random connections to this, it's my belief now these are all laundering operations. Okay, as one the wonderful Gary has educated us on. It must be the same in the UK as it is here, and
Hmm.
it is crazy, bro. Like
Yeah.
there was the whole conspiracy about mattress stores, right? Like how many times have you bought a mattress in your life? Once or twice. And you Google some areas in America and there's just hundreds of mattress stores. And
Yeah.
again, they've got to wash this money. Okay. When
That
it
actually
comes
makes sense. I never thought about that.
dude,
The mattress stores for real.
well, seriously, because the more you stumble across these little businesses and these people, and people are businesses too, right?
Mhm.
You've got to think to yourself, when it comes to these sort of investigations, everyone's guilty until they prove that they're not in the investigative road. Okay,
So true. Yeah.
like when we're talking about these people, 100%. Okay, it's you just got to stay focused on the fact that they're making this complicated in the research, so that you
Mhm.
start stuff and get bored and go back to Netflix and all of this stuff. And
Yeah.
our mate Gary will be live with him on Friday. His investigation has taken him to the point where he now can't live anywhere and lives in a tent moving around because if he gets caught, the information that he's discovered is bonkers, bro. It's
Damn, that's
bonkers.
crazy. Yeah, that's crazy.
It really, really is. And big shout out to Gary, big shout out to John Wedge, big shout out to all the whistleblowers out there. Well, look, we're approaching the hour, Nick, right? What would you say in conclusions, your gut feeling surrounding your investigations, surrounding these individuals? What's the taste that's been left in your mouth, so to say?
Honestly, I have always felt like these guys, I feel like maybe Chris and Chester might have been involved directly with the Silent Children personally. There's no documented evidence. There is the Linkin Park connection for like on the website, and the fact that they donated guitars. They have a global Traffic Jam concert every year, which is like a massive concert with nothing but massively huge bands. And I also found in my research that Moldova was one of the only places that I was able to find any sort of report or marketing or post about having a Chester Bennington / Linkin Park tribute show after he had died. And I thought it was really weird for Moldova, the country where this Silent Children intro was filmed, to then have this massive love for Linkin Park and to host this tribute show. And nowhere else in the world was I finding something like this. So that was weird to me. So I believe that they were involved. Maybe not so much Avicii, but I feel like he also had some sort of information because of that For a Better Day video. Like that was so graphically intense that
Dude,
he had to have something that he knew.
Avicii, and you and I can have a discussion about Avicii because I've got an entirely different narrative for Avicii,
Yeah.
a completely different one. And again, you need to ask yourself the stop the traffic events and things like this. Is it smarter for the evildoers to control both narratives, keeping their evil secrets aside, but then also setting up the foundations that seem to be fighting people like them? Because for me, it makes way more sense for me to supply you with something to feel like there's a fight that's happening when I'm behind it and nothing's happening.
Yeah.
And it's so scary because you could be led to create something without knowing exactly why it's being created. You're just happy to be funded. When it comes to documentary filmmakers like the one you spoke about, it's really easy to find someone who's made a couple of rubbishy little movies, hit them with a huge budget, because they will do anything to keep that
they'll do
budget.
anything for that. That's what they've been working for. Yeah.
It's all by design, baby. And
Yeah.
it's a scary one. And I'll be honest with you, I think you and I need to have a lot more conversations.
Yeah, I'm way down with that. You're a lot of fun to talk to, Ron.
Well, I think you're a lot of fun to talk to as well, Nick. A lot of the time I'm trying to just let people talk because it sets the stage for future conversations and things like this. But make sure you guys go and follow Nick. What have you got coming up next, Nick? What's on your agenda? Tell us what's going on in your life.
Oh, well, right now, at least for this week's video, I'm focusing on just like a Halloween themed story. I'm going to talk about the Pixie Stick murders.
Okay.
Kind of a super sad situation. I wanted to do just something Halloween themed, and that seemed like one of the more interesting stories for sure. And then from there, I'll probably get back to my regular scheduled stuff. I don't have every week I feel out. I just listen to my guides and they guide me to the next topic. Or because I don't know, I plan stuff out and then people will die. And then I'm like, oh, well, I got to do this one now. Or I got to focus on this one.
Maybe start picking the evildoers, right? And then
that's a good point.
I'm going to do a video on them. Oh, no. They were in a car. Oh, no.
Oh, maybe what a bummer.
That's the gift you got right
there.
That's
a good idea. Yeah.
X-Men superpower. Do you know what I'm saying? But you're just not dialed in yet. So listen.
But I've gotten so down this, like my channel started out doing crime stories and then it evolved because I mentioned Diddy in one of my episodes, and then it's literally snowballed this direction. And now I'm so invested that I can't stop. And so, I don't know. I'm just going to keep posting about, I like to have videos that are addiction fueled, but also have some sort of mystery surrounding it. Possible conspiracy mystery for sure. And then I just like to dig deep and see what's in there, because I feel like there's so many stories out there that I even have been duped into thinking were just the way it is. This is just how it is. And now I look at it with a second lens, a new lens, and I'm like, how do people even believe this? How do people believe that this is the real story?
Go back and watch the moon landing video. Go back.
Oh,
the last time you watched it, go watch it back and just be like, wait a minute.
Even just the conference they had, the little news conference or like press conference they had after everything, that was the most uncomfortable I've ever been.
Dude, let's take that. Let's just look at the mindset of America if America can go anywhere and they're the first ones there, they're rinsing that, mate. There'd be a McDonald's within a week. Okay, so that's the thing
Walmart and McDonald's on the moon, dude.
Dude, listen,
That's
if we
so
can
true,
get on
though.
that ship and go to Mars, right, and then you have a baby on Mars, one of your kids will be a Martian.
Yeah, really though. The thing that really got me was that we haven't been to the moon since 1972, but we only went there from 69 to 72. I was like, that alone is, are you serious?
Did you see the size of a calculator in 1960 something or other?
Yeah,
okay,
I know.
That was peak of technology, bro. Like that was peak. But look, listen, Nick, it's been an absolute pleasure. Make sure you guys go like and subscribe over in Nick's channel. Nick will be back. We can definitely tell that there's a lot more conversation to be had. Thank you to your community. I've seen a lot of your peeps in the side chat.
Hell yeah. Thank you guys for coming in. I saw a lot of that too. It was good to see you guys in here.
Big shout out to Sarah and Shane, who are my production team and who are the backbone of everything right now. Big shout out to you guys. You're legends, and we couldn't do it without you.
They were awesome to work with, by the way. Yeah, they were super great. They kept hitting me back up when I didn't respond because I hardly ever check my email. So yeah, they were really cool. I really appreciate them.
Yeah, they're freaking awesome. So big shout out to you guys, and thank you so much. Thank you to the mods, thank you to the admins, thank you to the Shaun Attwood channel, and of course thank you to you, Nick, and thank you to the viewers at home. We will see you in the next one. I'm going to be live in about 20 minutes over on my channel for members night, and I'll see you over there. Nick, we'll speak to you again very, very soon. Thank you.